No, it's
Sean,
recording.
have you there? It's recording.
It's good.
Yeah, it's recording. You're on.
I'm on. Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Bob. I'm with All Ohio Training Group, and I'm here today to present roll out your drug-free safety program. And this is the training, this is the employee training. Basically, my agenda would be to show you how to comply with the drug-free safety program, show you what you're here to do. That's it. Nobody's in trouble. The goal is not to get rid of anybody. Sometimes I don't think anybody feels that way, but when I go to large factories, people think when they implement a drug-free safety program that there's some intention to root people out or whatever. We have ownership right here, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is the goal to get rid of people?
No.
And if you have no employees, how do you do your business? That's my question. We need employees to do the business. The goal here is to be compliant with the state of Ohio drug-free safety program. And typically, and we get a chance to talk about this ahead of time, but typically when companies engage in this program, it's for one of two purposes. Either there was a horrendous accident or injury and your premiums are through the roof. I'm hoping that's not the case. Or in order to bid on state or federal projects, you need to have the certification. For a third reason?
We just want to be safe in this shop. We want to make sure we are safe and accountable to our customers.
Wow, you're beholden to a higher reason. I must admit, that's less common. I'm in belief of that. So I'm assuming you may operate under the assumption that when people are unimpaired with substances, they're better, they're safer. So what do you think? Sure. Anybody have an issue with that? I went to a roofing company one time, and the owner told me that his best worker was at his best after a 12-pack of beer. I'm concerned about anybody whose performance goes up when they're using a substance. All the data suggests that your average person is best when they're unimpaired. Now my job here is just roll you through some basic education. Some of it's going to be review. I'm not a big fan of PowerPoint. We'll do the PowerPoint. There's plenty of information that's not on these slides. Okay. At any rate, and I'm not big on reading, but in some cases I'll have to read directly from the slide. The goal here, what do you think, before you read that, what do you think the goal of the drug-free safety program is?
Safety.
Drug-free?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Safety, because people are drug-free, they're unimpaired. Okay. And
Bob,
it says here, by deterring, detecting, and taking corrective action against. I'll admit that my major, I'll get right to you.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to add to your earlier conversation that, that we all go through experiences in life, whatever our personal life experiences are. We are putting in place another plan called the Employee Assistance Program as well.
So you're doing EAP. Okay.
The EAP. And so if someone does, have a situation that leads them to, to a need to get services, counseling services or whatever, they will have access to that as well. So we're trying to look out for, it's not just employees' rights, but employees' well-being in general.
So you're like a small company that kind of operates like a big company. Usually it's
we're just trying to do what's right.
That forward-thinking, the EAP services and so forth. I think that's great. Our goal here today is education and prevention. And in a shop of this size, I would imagine it's really difficult for someone to be impaired and not have other people know it. When I go to a huge manufacturing location, I went to one place and they were talking about the boxes. They would bring in big industrial equipment. They would come in giant wooden crates. And if you really, really wanted to have a nap, you could go sleep in the boxes for a while. I'm just thinking this isn't that kind of place. That the level of observation and shoulder to shoulder working, that in a company of this size, typically people know what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Okay. We want to buffer the employer from legal liability while protecting employees' rights. Both these things run hand in hand. Reduce workers' compensation costs. You're not a huge company. And this is an interesting niche. I don't know what the premiums are. I'm assuming one of you guys is writing the check, and I'm assuming that biannual check is never fun to write.
Never
fun to write.
The BWC premium.
Enjoyable.
Never fun to write. Yeah. Well, I guess we think differently than most other employers. We do work that's very different from most other employers too.
Really do.
And workers' compensation is something that we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So we write the check, but we're also part of a group-rated plan.
Okay,
And
so let's talk about that. Well, first off, what are they paying for? When they pay for BWC benefits, what is that, and how does that benefit you? Does anybody know Bureau of Workers' Compensation?
Would it help with like medical costs if you get injured on the job?
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm just making stuff up because I know very little. But I'm looking at the size of some of these things. I can imagine you might be on a scissor lift or a tall ladder or something. Let's say, God forbid, you fell. You broke a leg on the job. Bureau of Workers' Compensation would assist with medical expenses, time off, all that kind of stuff. There's some inherent danger in this job. I don't know exactly what it is. I would think it would be the travel and the height, but I don't know. Maybe less dangerous to some jobs, but I bet it's more dangerous in my job. This is it. What's the temperature of the coffee? The most dangerous thing I'll do today is get here and then get home. But there's some inherent danger in the job, and the BWC looks at the classification that they give your company, the type of work that you do, the number of employees, and your safety record. What is the safety record? How have you been?
Good.
Okay.
Very good.
Because you're good, we're what we call in group. And what that means is they say, you're easy to insure, you're not very dangerous, we're going to stick you with a bunch of other similarly safe companies and give you I used to say reasonable, but it just never seems like the premium is reasonable, but a less costly premium. Now, they look at your history, or they call your experience rating, decide whether or not you're in group. So let's say someone is out for a month here on a medical. They look at the percentage of the company that's injured. So let's say one person. What are we looking at, 12, 15% here? Okay, so the problem is these little companies, you go from 0 to 0 when you have an accident. Really the goal here is to have 0 accidents, to make sure that we're as safe as possible. Now accidents can still happen. But we want to make sure that to keep that rate down, it's a savings for the company, and typically the company's overhead helps determine pay, benefits, that kind of stuff. Okay, so we're looking to save money for the company, educate the workforce. We'll certainly cover all that stuff today. You don't have to have the facts memorized. I want you to know that 47% of workplace accidents, 40% of fatalities are drug or alcohol related. That's huge. A third of the accidents on the freeway are drug or alcohol related. So we know that when people are unimpaired, they're just plain safe. It's compelling. Can people get injured for other reasons? Just on the way here, I ended up taking a picture of the back of this truck. It was Millis Trucking. I'm driving along, 480 West, and he just veered straight into my lane. I mean, and I'm right next to this truck. And thank God there was nobody on this side, because I jacked it, and I pulled up to take a look and see who was driving, gave me the bird, and I'm thinking, wow, okay. This is crazy. Stuff happens in life. Sometimes it's unforeseeable. We want to make sure that we don't have a claim based on substance use. 4 facts you don't have to have memorized, but I'll ask you, do you think people with substance use issues are working? Do they work? Okay. The myth is that they're not working. 90% of alcoholics have a job. 74% of addicts have a job. Now, I spent 10 long years working in the Cuyahoga County Jail as a substance counselor there, and I would work with people who kind of fit the stereotype. You get 30 paces, you could see drug or alcohol issues, but your standard person with a problem has a job, has a house, has a spouse, good human being, maybe they go to church, maybe they do volunteer work, but there's this looming substance use issue underneath. A person doesn't even have to have an addiction per se to negatively affect their company. So let's say once a year on March 18th, I come to work and I am just not okay. What's March 18th, by the way? March 18th. What is it?
St. Patrick's Day.
After St. Patrick's Day.
After St. Patrick's Day.
I had a wonderful time on St. Patrick's Day, and it's not out of me. I'm super hungover. The alcohol is still looming around in my bloodstream. Maybe that day I negatively affect my employer. That doesn't mean I have a long-term issue, but it would still be a problem. Okay, on average, I should update this number, I'm sure it's gone up. They're saying about $7,000 if someone has an issue. Greater utilization of health benefits. absenteeism, waste of materials, that sort of thing. I don't know, what is there, I'm assuming there's a material cost here.
Oh, yeah.
Brass, aluminum,
All of it. Wood,
Electronics,
glue,
wood,
electronics, all of
leather.
it.
all right. Good wood, like black walnut or mahogany or?
Poplar, we have different kinds of wood in our inventory.
Okay. Measure twice, cut once, I cut it a little bit too short, now we got scrap. Right? Or I don't know, I drove to Indiana with a van and I missed the crucial part that I was supposed to bring. No one got injured today, but we waste 15 man hours. That kind of stuff.
That's the,
One theft. I don't know. Got a good alarm system here. I do a lot of stuff for the roofing companies. It used to be the roofing companies could keep their ladders behind the building. That ended a long time ago. These aluminum ladders are in the shop, changed to something, that sort of thing. Otherwise, they're getting scrapped out. Theft is just a horrible part of business these days. Now, your policy should include a written policy. Do you have a written policy
Yes.
at this point? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Was that distributed to employees?
Yes.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
Did you tear off likely a back page that said you read it?
We didn't tear it off. I think we.
Did you submit?
signed-
Did you?
Yeah.
It was circulated online,
Okay.
and so they only signed a form saying that they've read it.
Probably says something like, I read, understand, and will comply. Now, I'm no longer with county government, but when I was with county government, they said my very first day, they handed me a binder, 3-ring binder, which was like 4 inches thick, and they said, this is your job today. Read this. I'm not a big red tape guy. I did my best, but it's mind-numbing after a while. What if you didn't completely read your policy? Would that be an issue? Are you still accountable for it if you didn't read it?
Yes.
What if you don't understand it? Are you still accountable for it? Yeah, if you have any questions, ask me. That's what I'm here for today. To answer the questions. What if you disagree? Are you still accountable?
Signed it.
If you signed it. If you didn't sign it, we probably can't go forward. Right? We're all moving in mass towards this new place. Which, by the way, shouldn't be a scary place. It's a very reasonable place, and I'll cover that during the training. We do employee educational awareness. That's what we're doing now. We're just going to talk about drugs and alcohol. Drugs are bad. We'll cover drugs. I'll probably spend more time on alcohol. How come?
It's legal.
It's legal. It's available. It's part of our religious, cultural celebrations. It's cheap. It's ice cold. You're allowed to have it. And this is why people end up having it in their system at work, due to some real typical miscalculations about amount and time, which we will cover during the training. I won't show you how much crack cocaine you'll smoke or PCP you can do, but I will show you how much alcohol you can have on a work night, because you're allowed to have alcohol. We want to make sure you get it out of your system. The marijuana thing, not yet. It's more complicated in states like Colorado. It's much simpler here in Ohio at the moment. Supervisor, manager, skill building training, who's attending that? You guys afterwards?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to just talk about how to monitor employees, signs and symptoms to look for, that sort of thing. Again, there's going to be a real preventative message here. How do we just get our job done? There's so many regulations to follow these days. Sometimes I wonder how businesses manage to actually do what they're in business of doing. So the goal is, how do we efficiently have a program without causing an undue amount of supervisor and employee time to be dedicated to it? Okay, drug and alcohol testing. What have you got? You have pre-employment? I'm sure Ken is the person who asked me to come out. Ken at True Test Screening. So I'm assuming you're doing pre-employment, post-accident.
Post-time.
Okay, and then, are you doing random?
Mm-hmm.
So you're in a random, okay, and I'm assuming you're in a random pool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we have a thing called suspicion testing, so let's cover these. Pre-employment testing, is anybody new? New people?
No.
Okay,
No,
how new?
not anymore,
New
I
enough
guess.
to have done the
No.
pre-employment test?
Not that new.
Okay, new employees will have to do a pre-employment test. Tell me why that protects you. What are the odds that an impaired person might hurt the person next to them? Are there situations where, again, I'm looking at that white van. Do you travel?
Mm-hmm.
Do you take turns driving to Michigan or,
Yeah.
I don't know, Tennessee, or who knows how far you're going? I don't know how far you're going. Sometimes our safety is in the hands of somebody else. We want to make sure that person's okay. And then, of course, the gift that we give to other people at the company is, I'm okay. I brought my skills today. Okay, so that's pre-employment testing. Post-accident testing would occur when there's an accident. What's an accident?
Car accident, cut yourself in a machine, fall from a ladder.
Yeah, those are big ones. What if I get a little scratch?
Then you should man up to it and get
Duct tape. Get back to work.
Or woman up to it.
yeah.
I think a reasonable
Clean it.
demarcation
We have
line.
some first aid. We have some first aid. We'll give you a Band-Aid and clean it and make sure it's taken care of. We're not gonna.
Okay. Off-site medical attention. That's usually a good demarcation line. What if I say, I'm okay, I did fall off ladder, I say I'm okay, and I'm dragging my foot? Can my supervisor go, no, you're going into the doctor for an x-ray? Yes, yes. Car accident, yes. Your policy likely says something like vehicular damage in excess of a certain amount. I'll have to read your policy, but most policies do indicate vehicular damage or non-vehicular damage, where those might be situations where a person isn't hurt, but materials are hurt. Now, and I don't know anything about pipe organs, but I can imagine, because there would be some sort of ridiculous critical mistake that I'd make that would ruin the job. Okay. You're not speaking from experience, are you? But let's face it, so that could be a situation. Okay. I'll be honest with you. The goal is not to generate tests. I'm hoping in a company of this size, you do the training, you follow common sense rules with alcohol, you don't use the illicit substances, and you're safe and you do what you do. We have random testing. You're in a pool. Now what that means is we have a little company here that's grouped with, let's say, a whole bunch of other employees, let's say 1,000. A computer program generates a random date, and then it randomly generates an employee. So if there's 1,000 people in the pool, what's your odds of being picked? 1 in 1,000. Now, let's say you get picked. What are your odds next time?
Same.
It is the same. I swear people don't understand that. I got a call from a guy, this happened twice. I had a call from a guy, he says, I have to get an evaluation for drugs and alcohol. I said, okay, I'll meet with you, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, tell me what happened. He says, well, I tested clean on my company's random test. I said, I thought you tested dirty, and that's why you have an assessment. He says, hear me out. I tested clean, so I figured, now I'm okay. What are the odds of it happening again? Exactly the same. Which is more likely? You get popped for every single random test that your pool does this year, or you win Mega Millions. Which is more likely?
You get popped.
Yeah. In fact, they're not even close from a probability standpoint. So I just want to highlight that. I think sometimes people engage in mental errors that allow them to make mistakes that get them in trouble. I don't want that to happen. Then we have suspicion testing. That's a scary word. What does that mean?
We think you're under the influence. So
Okay.
we send you away.
Give me some symptoms. What would be some common symptoms that might suggest a person is impaired? Huh?
Yeah.
Staggering. Loss of motor skills. That weird sideways gravity. Red, glassy eyes. Maybe.
Spend too much time in the bathroom.
It certainly could be. With the supervisors, we'll talk about what to look for, but I have no problem giving them to you. The big ones would be loss of motor skills, problems with speech, especially different speech. This is the kind of company where everybody should get real comfortable. You should know each other really well. You ever walk in and you go, oh, she's having a bad day. You know what I'm talking about? I'm assuming you know each other that well, that there's this general understanding of each other. You know each other's mannerisms, your vocal mannerisms, and so forth. So if a person doesn't sound right, that could be. Loss of motor skills. What about smell of drugs or alcohol? Is that grounds for a test? Okay. Eyes, to me, that's an ancillary symptom. We were talking about the dust, right?
Yeah.
Ahead of time, and I was just thinking, I don't know, if a pipe organ hasn't been serviced in
50 years, 100 years.
Okay, decades, 100
Yeah.
years, a generation, a lifetime. God knows what's in there. We were talking about, dead birds and debris and so forth. Could you have bloodshot eyes because you encountered whatever?
Yeah.
Were you up late last night? Or if you're like me, you just sometimes have nights where you just don't sleep and you just have no idea why. Okay. Or there's allergies. The cottonwood is flying, whatnot. I would want a supervisor to come in closer and look for other symptoms. To me, bloodshot eyes isn't a smoking gun. Loss of motor skills, smell, speech is one, and then there's performance. Now, if a person has a performance problem, if I have a problem with attendance or other aspects of my job, would you tell me about it? Bob, Mondays are a work day. We'd like you to be here. You've missed 3 in a row. Good supervisor will ask for a correction. Okay. I'm not here to generate suspicion tests. Let's hope there aren't any. But it's the right of management. Okay. Employee assistance. Your company's got that. And feel free to use me also. You know, sometimes people, you know, they say, I don't know, maybe I need to talk to somebody. You're welcome. It's just part of the service. You know, I've been a drug and alcohol counselor for, this will be my 27th or 8th year. Don't make me do the math. But this is all I've been doing my whole career. After I leave here, I'll head to Crossroads and mentor. I'm a teen counselor 4 days a week. I do a variety of things for my private practice and so forth. That's it. If anybody needs information for themselves or for a loved one who might be suffering from a drug or alcohol issue, you've got it. Here's your responsibilities. Now, if at any point they sound unreasonable or undoable, stop. We'd like you to be aware of the dangers and effects of drugs and alcohol. What do you think? We'll cover all of those. We would like you to be abstinent from illicit drugs. So what does that mean? Non-prescribed. Illegal. What's illegal? Everything except alcohol. About this time last year, I walked into a large factory and this guy goes, now that weed is legal, can I burn one on the way in? And I said, no, on a variety of different levels. Marijuana is not legal in the state of Ohio. You can get a prescription, maybe, for THC. I don't know where you're going to fill it. The delivery system hasn't appeared. Doctors are still hesitant to prescribe the substance. More on the marijuana thing later. It's real easy. You're allowed to use alcohol. I'll show you how to do that. Not that you don't know how to drink, how much, and how to figure out if you're okay to drive. Now, I would assume that getting a drunk driving charge is not against the policy, but I would think it makes you a much less valuable employee because you do a lot of stuff out in the real world, right? There's a fair amount of travel here. We need people to have valid driver's licenses. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll talk about that too. We'd like it to be alcohol-free during work hours. What does that mean? Does that mean you can't drink alcohol?
Yeah. No.
Ever?
During work hours.
Is that just what it means?
No.
Can't have it in your system.
Can I finish my last 40 on the way in to Leek Pipe Oregon Company?
Nope.
I'm allowed to, but that would be a horrible strategy. That would be a horrible strategy because...
You have alcohol in your system during work hours.
Right. Okay. Having no alcohol in your system during work hours is going to require strategy. We'll cover a sane strategy that works. Okay. We want you to report prescribed medications. And I should really put an asterisk there. Most medications we're not concerned about. I'm taking, I had to reschedule this training because I had the most severe sinus infection of my life. So I had a headache from roughly September